I raised my husband's daughter for 10 years. Until a blood test proved she wasn't his. That was the moment everything shattered. The moment my life split into two. Before the truth, and after it. It was a cold Thursday morning. In Boston, gray skies pressing down. I stood alone in the kitchen. Holding a cup of cold coffee. Staring at an envelope in silence. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not because I didn't know. But because I was terrified. That I was right all along. 10 years earlier, I met Daniel Carter. A man who felt safe, steady, real. Not exciting in a wild way. But the kind you build a life with. He told me early on. I have a daughter, she's 3. Her mother left without a trace. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. Then he showed me her picture. A little girl with messy curls. Big brown eyes, soft innocent smile. That was the moment I fell. Not just for Daniel. But for Lily too. I didn't plan to be her mother. Life just pushed me into it. And before I realized what happened, she became my whole world. The first time she said, "Mom," I locked myself in the bathroom. And cried for 20 minutes straight. Because it felt too real. I packed her school lunches daily. Read bedtime stories every night. Stayed awake when she had fevers. Whispering softly that I was there. Daniel worked late almost every night. Always stressed, always exhausted, distant. So I filled every empty space. And became everything Lily needed. Mother, comfort, discipline, safety. I never once complained about it. Because I believed she was his. And that made her mine too. Years passed quietly, almost perfectly. Until the first crack appeared. Lily was 6 years old then. We were visiting Daniel's family. A big dinner table in Chicago. Filled with laughter and conversations. Lily played beside her cousin Emma. Carefree, happy, completely unaware. That was when his mother spoke. Softly, almost like a whisper. "She doesn't look like us." The room froze for a second. Daniel laughed to cover the tension. Kids change, she'll grow into it. Everyone moved on quickly. But I didn't. Because I saw something. A flicker in his eyes. A hesitation that shouldn't exist. Like he wasn't completely sure. I told myself I was imagining things. That love sometimes creates doubts. And good people ignore those doubts. So I buried it deep inside. For years and years. But the questions never left me. Lily grew older, more beautiful. But more different every year. She didn't have Daniel's blue eyes. Didn't have his sharp features. She didn't resemble his family. In any way I could explain. And every time I noticed, I felt guilty for thinking it. What kind of mother questions that? So I stayed silent. And chose love over suspicion. Until the day everything changed. Her name was Vanessa. She showed up unannounced one afternoon. Standing at our front door. Wearing a beige coat, tired eyes. Like the past had returned suddenly. "I want to see my daughter." No apology, no regret, no shame. Just a sentence that cut deep. I felt anger rise instantly. You don't get to do that. You don't disappear for 10 years. And come back like nothing happened. She looked straight into my eyes. Cold, distant, unfamiliar. "You're not her mother." That sentence shattered something inside me. Because I had spent 10 years proving that I was. I turned to Daniel immediately. Waiting for him to defend me. To stand beside me like he should. But he hesitated. That same hesitation again. "Maybe we should talk about it." Talk about what exactly? There was nothing to discuss. Or at least that's what I believed. Until Vanessa said something else. "If you're so sure about everything, why don't we do a blood test?" I laughed without thinking. Because it sounded ridiculous. She's Daniel's daughter. There's nothing to prove here. Vanessa didn't even smile. "Then you have nothing to fear." I turned to Daniel again. Waiting for him to shut it down. To end this conversation immediately. But he looked at the floor. "I think it might be a good idea." That was the moment I felt betrayed. "You don't trust your own daughter?" "It's not about trust," he whispered. "Then what is it about?" He didn't answer at all. And in that silence, something inside me collapsed. 3 days later, we went to a clinic. The drive there felt endless, suffocating. I didn't say a single word. Lily sat in the backseat quietly, humming to herself, completely unaware. "Is it going to hurt?" she asked. The nurse smiled gently at her. Just a tiny pinch, sweetheart. I held her small hand tightly. It's okay, I'm right here. Because no matter what happened, I was her mother, always. At least, that's what I believed. Now back to that morning. Alone in my quiet kitchen. The envelope still in my hands. The truth waiting inside silently. Daniel was at work already. Lily was at school, safe for now. And I was completely alone. Which felt almost appropriate. Because whatever was inside, I knew I would face it alone. I took a deep breath slowly. And tore the envelope open. My eyes scanned the paper quickly. And then everything stopped. Probability of paternity, 0%. I couldn't breathe anymore. My vision blurred instantly. My hands went completely numb. 0%. Not uncertain, not maybe. Just absolute, undeniable 0. Daniel was not her father. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because one question screamed louder. If Daniel wasn't her father, then whose child had I been raising for 10 years? My husband lied, but the truth was worse. I didn't remember picking up my phone. I only remember calling Daniel. My voice shaking, barely holding together. You need to come home, now. There was a pause on the line. What happened? He asked quietly. I swallowed hard before answering. The results came back. Silence filled the call instantly. Heavy, suffocating, impossible to ignore. I'll be there in 20 minutes. But it felt like hours. I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at the paper over and over, hoping the numbers would somehow change. 0%. It burned into my eyes. Like something I could never unsee. The front door finally opened. Daniel walked in slowly, tense. His face already knowing the truth. I didn't say anything at first. I just slid the paper toward him. He looked down at it briefly. Then closed his eyes tightly. Like a man caught, not shocked. You knew, didn't you? I whispered. He didn't answer immediately. And that was answer enough. Daniel, tell me the truth. His voice came out low, broken. I wasn't sure, not completely. Something inside me snapped. Not sure? Not sure? I raised her for 10 years. I gave up everything for this family. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing like he was losing control. Vanessa told me once, years ago. My heart dropped instantly. She said Lily might not be mine. The room spun around me. And you just ignored that? I wanted to believe she was lying. I needed to believe that. I laughed bitterly through tears. So you chose a lie, over the truth? He didn't respond. Because he knew it was true. Before I could say anything else, a voice came from the doorway. Mom? We both froze. Lily was standing there. Her backpack still on her shoulders. Eyes wide, confused, scared. How long have you been there? I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't answer the question. Why are you yelling? I forced a smile through tears. Nothing, sweetheart, just adult stuff. But kids always know. They always feel it. She looked at the paper. Still lying on the table. What's that? I moved quickly to grab it. But Daniel spoke first. It's nothing important. Lily frowned slightly. Then looked between both of us. Something had shifted. She could feel it. I'm going to my room, she said softly. And just like that, the house felt colder than ever. The moment her door closed, I turned back to Daniel. This is your fault. I know, he said immediately. But that didn't make it better. Who is her father? I don't know, he admitted. I stared at him in disbelief. You don't know? She was seeing someone else back then. She never told me who. I felt sick. So for 10 years, you built our life on uncertainty? I loved her, he said desperately. I loved both of you. That doesn't make it right. My voice cracked under pressure. Do you understand what this means? She's not yours, and she's not mine. The words felt cruel as they left me. But they were real. And reality doesn't care about feelings. Before Daniel could respond, there was a knock at the door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. We both turned toward it. A feeling of dread filled my chest. Because somehow, I already knew. Daniel opened the door slowly. And there she was. Vanessa. Standing there like she belonged. Like she had never left at all. I heard the results came in. She said calmly, almost satisfied. My blood boiled instantly. You've done enough damage already. She stepped inside anyway. Uninvited, unapologetic. No, she said quietly. I think this is where it begins. I felt something dark creeping in. What do you want? She looked straight at me. I want my daughter back. I laughed in disbelief. After 10 years? You're insane. But then she said something that made the entire world stop. You should be thanking me. My voice dropped to a whisper. For what? For telling you the truth. I clenched my fists tightly. What truth? She stepped closer slowly. The truth about Lily. My heart started pounding violently. And about YOU. Everything inside me froze. What are you talking about? Vanessa tilted her head slightly, studying my face like a secret. Did Daniel ever tell you? Her voice lowered, almost a whisper. How we really lost that child. My stomach dropped instantly. What child? Daniel suddenly stepped forward. Vanessa, stop. But she didn't. She smiled faintly. Too calmly. Too confidently. The one you thought you miscarried. My entire world went silent. Because in that moment, I realized something horrifying. This wasn't just about Lily anymore. This was about a secret. Buried 10 years deeper. The child I lost was never dead. Everything inside me went silent. Like the world had just disappeared. I stared at Vanessa, frozen. My heart pounding uncontrollably. What did you just say? My voice barely came out. Weak, shaking, unfamiliar. Daniel stepped in quickly. Stop this right now, Vanessa. But she didn't even look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on me. You really don't know, do you? A cold chill ran through my body. Know what? I whispered. She took a slow step closer. The night you lost your baby? My chest tightened instantly. That wasn't a miscarriage. The room started spinning. That's not true, Daniel snapped. But his voice lacked conviction. And I noticed it. For the first time clearly. He wasn't denying it. He was afraid of it. I turned to him slowly. Daniel, what is she talking about? He couldn't look at me. That was when I knew. Something was terribly wrong. Vanessa continued, calm as ever. You were drugged that night. My breath caught instantly. What? You collapsed, remember? Fragments of memory hit me. Blurred, broken, incomplete. The hospital lights. Voices echoing around me. Someone holding my hand. Then nothing. They told you the baby was gone. Tears started falling silently. Yes, I remember that. But the baby didn't die. Everything stopped. Completely stopped. My knees almost gave out. That's impossible. Vanessa shook her head slowly. No, it's the truth. I looked at Daniel desperately. Say something, tell me she's lying. But he stayed silent. And that silence destroyed me. You knew? My voice broke completely. You knew? I found out later, he said quickly. I didn't know at the time. That doesn't make it better. My entire body was shaking now. What happened to my child? Vanessa answered before he could. I took her. The words hit like a gunshot. What? I took your baby, she repeated calmly. You were unconscious. And no one was watching. I felt like I couldn't breathe. You're lying, you're insane? But deep down, I already knew. She wasn't. I couldn't have children, she said. Her voice finally cracking slightly. And you had everything. I shook my head in horror. So you just stole my baby? Yes. No hesitation. No regret. Just truth. And Daniel? My voice turned cold. What did he do? Vanessa looked at him briefly. He found out a year later. My heart shattered all over again. And you stayed? I stared at Daniel in disbelief. You stayed with her after that? I thought I could fix it, he said. His voice desperate, broken. I thought I could protect you. Protect me? I laughed hysterically. By lying to me for 10 years? I was afraid to lose you. You already did. My scream echoed through the house. At that moment, a small voice spoke behind us. Mom? Everything froze instantly. We all turned around slowly. Lily was standing there again. Tears streaming down her face. How much did you hear? I asked, terrified of the answer. She didn't respond immediately. She just looked at me. Confused, broken, searching. Am I not his daughter? The question cut deeper than anything. I walked toward her slowly. Every step heavier than the last. It's complicated, sweetheart. But she shook her head. No, just tell me the truth. Her voice was stronger now. Braver than I expected. I knelt down in front of her, holding her trembling hands. The test says, he's not your biological father. Tears rolled down her cheeks faster. And you? She whispered. That question broke me completely. Because for the first time, I didn't know how to answer. Vanessa stepped forward quietly. She is your real mother. Time stopped again. Lily looked at me, eyes wide, full of disbelief. What? I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even think. Because it was true. The truth I had been running from. The truth hidden for 10 years. She's your mother, Vanessa repeated. The one who gave birth to you. Lily looked back at me slowly. You're my mom? Tears poured down my face. Yes. My voice shattered completely. Yes, I am. She stepped back slightly, trying to process everything. All this time? You were raising me? Without knowing? I nodded slowly, unable to stop crying. I never stopped loving you, I said. Not for a single second. She stared at me for a moment, then suddenly ran into my arms, hugging me tightly, like she was afraid to let go. I held her like I never had before. Because now I knew. I wasn't just her mother in love. I was her mother in blood. Behind us, Daniel collapsed into a chair, his world finally catching up to him. Vanessa stood silently, watching everything unfold. But she had already lost. Because no matter what she stole, no matter what she destroyed, she could never take this back. 10 years of love. 10 years of memories. 10 years of being her mother. And now, the truth had finally returned her to me. Final twist. I didn't raise my husband's daughter. I raised my own child. Stolen from me for 10 years.